Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, my name is LJ and you're watching NoClutch Garage. And today we're here at EuroMpire hanging out with my car. Well, the car is in for a few things that we have to get done and taken care of. But we're going to be doing a rotor and brake service, and a huge shout out to R1 Concepts for supplying the parts for this video. So we're going to be doing the rotors and the brakes. We're going to be doing front and back, and I'm going to show you how to do them. I'm going to show you how to do one side on the right and the other one in the front right. So basically you know how to do both sides. It's really simple and straightforward. I think I recorded a video on how to do this before and I never put it out. Probably didn't think it was the best video, but we got time today. We got a lift, we got the pads over there and the rotors somewhere down there, so we're gonna go ahead and do it. I'm gonna show you what you need to do step by step. Let's go ahead and get on with it. Alright, before we get onto the video, I do want to talk a little bit about the importance of choosing the right rotors and the right brake pads. Now, obviously, if you guys have been keeping up with my build, you know that I'm going to start running a pretty aggressive build now that I have the motor built. I chose the GEOMET slotted and dimpled rotors, and that's simply my preference. It does help a little bit with cooling, having the extra surface area and just letting the outgases just kind of freely go out. And then also the brake pads, I got the Performance sport brake pads, they're called, but essentially they're just a more aggressive compound, and it's gonna help me slow the car down a lot faster. And this is especially important for me since I'm gonna be drag racing the car a little bit. Now obviously, ideally I would get a 15-inch conversion in the back and then a big brake kit in the front, just to have the ability to run a bigger tire in the back, but we're not quite there yet. Honestly, I don't know when I'm gonna get there or if I'm gonna decide to go that route. But for now, we're gonna do this. This is still very much a street car, and I just want to be able to stop when I want the car to stop. So let's go ahead and get on with it. I'll show you how to do this. All right, and obviously the first thing we want to do is we're gonna go ahead and take the wheels off. So what we're going to do now, there are two rods that we have to tap out in order to remove the brake pads. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so to do that, we have a tool kind of like this, and it's got a tip at the end, and then we're just going to use a mallet to push it back. And there's one comes out. And we do the second one. It's right here at the bottom. That one comes out. And now we try to take these calipers out. These brake pads out. And the way I've done it in the past, to get the pistons pushed back in, kind of want to pry in a little bit. Get this piece out, and then the brake pads should just come out like that. And these were they weren't that used. I actually had them on there for a few hundred miles before the car broke, so they've been on there since the motor went bye-bye. But we're gonna put some new pads on there. And then right here, I don't know how well you can see, but now I'm trying to get these pistons to get flush with the cap. So kind of push them back. You just kind of have to adjust that until they even out. There you go. Alright, now that we have the brake pads off, now we can take the caliper off. And for that, there are going to be two bolts back here, and they're size 18. And you just take those off. Alright, and so for this, I already told you we're going to be using size 18 sockets to take these off. And then we have these right here, these little caliper hangers that we're going to be using so the caliper doesn't hang on the line. They're pretty handy. I'll leave them down in the description down below. So now we got both bolts out, and now we're gonna use those hangers to hold these calipers. You want to find like an anchor point that's gonna be sturdy and solid. So I'm gonna take these off, and then kind of hang them like that. So you can hang them from any place really. I'm gonna hang them right there. They're hanging from this plate, and then I put it around the caliper so it's being held on, and the brake line's not being stressed. Right, just to show you a little bit of a clearer image, this is where the bolts were at, and here's how it looks on the actual wheel carrier. And now we can take off the rotor. Alright guys, so to take off the rotor, it's actually really simple, but there is a bolt right here holding the rotor in place, and this bolt is going to be an Allen size 6, and we're just going to take this off real quick and the rotor should pop right out. And the rotor comes out, and I want to show you guys, I don't know if you can see, but you see how that lip is forming right there? That means that the rotor is wearing, and these rotors I've needed to change them for a long time, I just haven't, but getting it done now. Alright, so now before we put the new rotor in, we're going to want to clean all of this off. I'm going to go ahead and take this little cap off as well, and we're going to clean everything off. Make sure there's good contact with the wheel hub. Good contact there.
Yeah, Reg?
Yeah.
You just want to make sure it's free of any scale, mostly.
Yeah.
In this area too, but you don't want to use anything that's going to be so harsh that it's going to like gouge it or anything. That's why the wire brush is kind of like the thing, right? And you don't have to get it shiny. You just want to get all the shit off of it. Make sure you're made into a really good flat surface. And then you're going to want to take some copper anti-seize.
I'm letting Matt do this part. Just clean it off real good.
Take some copper anti-seize. You don't need a lot. And just put it on where the rotor is going to hit and where the wheel is going to hit. You don't really want to get it on this surface here too much. Doesn't matter if there's a little bit, but...
And why would I want it on that surface?
Because again, you want a really good clean mating surface. And if you put too much on there, then it can get behind it and it might get uneven, or get uneven when it dries and collect shit. And that's it. And that'll also really help next time you gotta take the wheel off.
The master showing us some trade secrets. No, but that's pretty standard stuff. I just don't have any of this stuff. If you want to get it, it's liquid moly, LM508 anti-seize, and it's basically copper anti-seize. But as he was saying, you just want to put it around the hub where the rotor is going to make contact with the wheel hub. You don't really want to put it here because otherwise it can get uneven, and you really don't want, you really want the flattest surface for the mating surface to be like as flat as it can be. So yeah, so now we have that done, and we can grab our new rotor and put it in. And just make sure you just press up on it. Torque it in. You don't have to over torque it, just torque it in hand tight. Don't go crazy with it. There we go. our rotor. It's all dirty. But it is ceramic coated, so just put some water to it. It'll be alright. So when we get to the calipers, we're going to put the calipers back on. One thing that you do want to make sure with the calipers is that you clean the pistons. So we want that as clean as possible as well. So we're going to go ahead and clean that. You can use like a Scotch-Brite pad or something and just clean both sides. Don't have to do anything crazy. We're going to put some more of that anti-seize. We're actually going to put it on the pad, and I'll show you what I mean by that, just to keep everything lubricated. Alright, so now we have it cleaned off. And now we can put this back in its place. You grab your bolts and go ahead and start bolting in. Alright, so now the caliper has been tightened. Make sure it is very tight, and then go ahead and put this little cap back on. There we go. And now that has been the rotor replacement. It's the same in the front as in the back, and the process for the calipers is about the same too, but I'm going to show you anyway how to do it on the back. Right now, let me show you how to replace these pads. So if you get a kit kind of like the one I got, there's a very easy way to identify the front brakes from the rear. Obviously, the rear brakes are smaller. This is what the front brakes look like, the pads, and then these are the rear ones. And as you can see, they're a lot smaller. Alright, so here are my pads. If I was doing this on the opposite side, we would also have to deal with the brake sensor. And the brake sensor, I'll show you on the rear how it goes, because the front and the rear are pretty much the same, but the sensor will have to be replaced. Actually, I'm going to show you how to replace the front sensor here in a little bit, but basically once the new sensor goes in, it'll go in here, and then you just put the brake pads in. It's not really much of a difference. Alright guys, so I want to show you the sensor in the front wheel. Just kind of take it off like we did on the other pad. As you can see, you have that little metal piece. I'm just going to stick it back in there, and then we just simply take it off of here, and then right there, there's another one, and then we open this little box, and the sensor comes off, and you press that little tab right there, pulls off, and there's your sensor. And then we do the same thing to replace it. So we're gonna go ahead and take these. Before we do anything, we're gonna grab some of this and put a little, that's a lot, a little dot. You don't need a lot. We'll grab our little brush and just kind of where the contact's gonna be at. And you can kind of tell where the piston is gonna be making contact by looking at the old pads, and kind of use that as a reference. See that? So you can use that as a reference. And then we just take our pad and stick it in. Just one. Now they're on. Alright guys, and then we have to put this plate in also, which is going to be holding the brake pads together. And as you can see, this is designed kind of to go in like that. You can see where these would go in and kind of sit like that. So, and then remember, these go in from the back, and we're just going to put these in dry. We don't need to lube them up or anything. So we kind of put it like that. With these, if you can look at the shape right here, this is going to be facing the pads. So we're gonna put it in like that, and then we put this in through there. If you look in here, when you put this through, there is also a small hole on the brake pad that it has to go through. And it's going to go through this brake pad as well, and then through here. Essentially, this is going to be held in place by that. So when you put it all the way through, it's held on like that. And then it goes through this brake pad, and ultimately through the to the caliper. On the back, it's going to stay like that, and we're going to take a mallet and hammer it in. And then we do the same at the bottom. Now when you go through the bottom, you're going to want to push this down. So we're going to put it in. Make sure it goes through the brake pad. So right there you can see, I don't know if you can see, but it went through the brake pad right there. And then push this down, like that, go through there, through to the next brake pad, and then onto this side of the caliper. And then we just take our mallet, and we might need to use another one of those little pick tools to go ahead and hammer it all the way in. Because see, if you just do that, it's not going to be good enough, so we're going to take another one of those tools to help us put this all the way in. Now as you can see, we come back here, now we have these in, everything looks good, and now we're done with the front. It's really simple. It just, once you get it down, once you do it one time, you can do it so easy every other time. Alright, so now this one's done. We can put the wheel back on, and then we're going to move on to the rear. Alright, and for the rear, we're going to start the same way. We're going to take the wheel off first. Alright guys, and this is going to be the same deal. We're going to take off the pads since we're replacing them. This one has a brake sensor right here, which I will be showing you how to take off. And then we're going to take off the rotor as well. So same thing, there are two little rods right here that we're going to be taking off. Now we're going to do kind of the same thing we did in the front, where we try to pry these off the brake rotor. To create that separation on the caliper. Oh, this comes off. This pad can come off, and in the back it's only one piston, so that's all we have to worry about. And right back here, I actually want to show you guys. This brake pad comes off, and we have a sensor attached to it. And the way this is routed is very complicated, but essentially take this thing off, and it's attached right there. I told you there was a groove, and then it's routed all the way back here. I think there are a few things that we have to undo that, and then that comes off, and then it's routed down here, and same deal here. We undo this like that, pull it out, same thing here, we pull it out. And what's going to end up happening, we're going to have to take this panel off. This is a 10mm plastic nut, and then there is an 8mm screw that you can take off right here, and you can access the little box right here. So let's go ahead and do that. And then once that's off, we can move this back. And here's the box that I was talking about. You come in here, you make sure you get the right cable for your brake sensor, so you don't break anything by accident. It's this one right here. So bring it out. You're gonna push that in to release, and then you pull it out, and that's it. We have it right here. The sensor is technically still good, but it's always good practice to go ahead and replace them every time you change your pads. So you can just put it aside like this. If you decide to use the sensor and it's not worn at all like mine, these sensors are probably good. I'll probably just keep them just in case of an emergency. You can always pop them off. Like that. And there you go. The rotor is taken off exactly the same way. The caliper, we actually go back here, and here are the 2 bolts that we need to take off. Same as the front, but just smaller. So we just take these off, and then the caliper will come right off. And to remove the rear caliper, you actually need a size 16, and I recommend a long socket because it's kind of tight in there. So we're going to use the size 16 and then just take it off.
I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. It's too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. It's too easy. I've been there, done it, seen it. Boy, all that like Keenan. Still got crack, they fiendin'. Flow still hot like Phoenix. Shine so bright, I'm gleaming. This off top, I'm tweaking. Fresh out the rat like Neiman. And I'm still tryna fight my demons. Cause we all gotta act like Tina. That's why I gotta ride with the Nina. Outside it's a war going on. Maybe put my hands on my head like the Macarena. They want you walking on board like Kima. And give a F to you like John Cena. Putting blood on the brand new Beamer. Tryna earn 8 stripes like Adidas. You get cold when you ride with the heater. It'll turn you to a dog like a Keto. And expose to a cat like a cheetah. They smoke my partner like reefer. Dímelo porque o no entiendo. Mi gente must really need Jesus. They shed real blood. I never seen the crypt and I believe it. It's too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy.
Alright guys, so now the rear is done. So that's pretty much all there is to it. There's not really, it's pretty simple. Just take your time, don't rush anything. You just need the few tools and you're good to go. Anyway, that has been it for the rotor and brake service on the BMW 340i. This works for any BMW that has the M Sport calipers. Those are the R1 concepts, rotors, and brakes. And I'll be keeping you guys updated on how these perform, especially once I start hitting the track and hit the brakes. Anyways, I wanted to show you guys. I know there are people that have done these tutorials before. I wanted to go ahead and show you how I do mine. It's not any different really, but I hope this is helpful to you guys. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comment section down below, and I will talk to you next video.
They must really need Jesus. He shed real blood. I never seen the crypt and I believe it. It's too easy. Too easy.